Imagine with me for a moment. It's a hot summer evening. You and a few of your closest friends made a plan earlier today to hang out and watch the sunset over a few drinks. You've all arrived at your friend's house, who's just lit a bonfire in his backyard. Finally, the sun is setting, and you're all sitting around enjoying the warmth of the fire pit, watching the stars peek out. It's almost perfect. But for one thing. Like an airstrike, tiny winged warriors torpedo past you from every direction, zooming by your ears, itching your skin, evading your slaps, crashing into the flames with a mindless, bug-headed tenacity. Small, buzzing kamikaze pilots plummeting carelessly, ceaselessly towards certain death, as though swooned by the siren song of the fire itself. You and your friends endure the onslaught as long as you can, chortling amidst smacks at these countless six-legged suicides. You can't bear the intrusion any longer. You suggest to your friends that you put the fire out and move the evening indoors. Hi there, I'm Mickey Roberts, and welcome to my first ever episode of Knowing Nothing. If you didn't quite get it from my rather animated intro story, today we're talking about bugs. Have you ever wondered why when you turn on your porch lights, a million moths just glom onto it like they're magnetic? Or why flies like to kill themselves in your bonfire? Well, these are two examples of what is called a positively phototactic insect. These are insects that are attracted to light, unlike negatively phototactic insects like cockroaches that hide from light. Ugh. But why are they attracted to light? Or are they attracted to it at all? This is the question I had this morning, and it's a question I want you to know the answer to for whatever back porch cocktail party you find yourself at next, where you need to impress a cute boy or a girl with your extensive bug knowledge. Naturally. So, let's talk theories. The current, widely believed theory is that these light-loving bugs aren't actually attracted to light at all. In fact, these insects utilize natural light sources like the moon and the stars to navigate their surroundings, always finding a certain angle relative to their light source. Moths, for example, which are believed to have been fluttering around for over 200 million years now, or 6,000 years for all you young Earth creationists out there. They've been developing this awesome internal navigation system since before the dinosaurs were strolling around. And since the moon and stars are so far above these insects' heads, the angle at which they're flying relative to them doesn't change, keeping them flying straight. But when suddenly, after millions and millions of years, humans began lighting fires and later made candles and street lamps and cars and motorcycles and cell phones and airplanes and flashlights and billboards and fireworks and satellites and lava lamps and Times Square, the bugs have gotten a bit confused and sadly very disoriented. This is because when the object is so close to them, they find that the angle changes as they fly past. And so in order to correct themselves, they end up flying in circles and eventually just crash into the thing. But they can't do anything to stop it because they're just dumb old bugs, and their evolutionary instincts to right their navigational wrongs are just so darn compelling. They're slaves to their tiny bug brains. But this is just one theory, and it has a decent-sized hole in it too. Homo sapiens, which, just so all you young Earthers know, are cousins to chimps. Yep, you got chimp DNA in you, 96% to be exact. Homo sapiens have been making fires for thousands of years. Now, I'm no Darwin, so I can't claim to know this to be true, but some scientists believe that thousands and thousands of years of evolution should have been enough to have kicked this little suicidal habit out of the moth's DNA by now. Assuming that natural selection agrees with me, the moth's death drop may not be the most beneficial dance move for the species' continued health and longevity. So, what's an alternative? Some people have considered the theory that since many kinds of flowers' petals actually reflect UV light, these insects may in fact be mistaking our artificial light sources as flowers, aka dinner. According to a study at Harvard University, insects do seem to be more attracted to light emissions consisting of wavelengths in the UV end of the spectrum, as opposed to longer wavelength light like infrared. Although most people don't typically have UV lights on their back porches, many lights we do use, like fluorescents and halogen bulbs, emit varying amounts of UV radiation. So basically, moths and flies think humans are much better gardeners than we really are, and what we really are big, fat, orange-browed, blue-faced Giamatti liars. On to alternative number 3. The third theory is a theory I want to mention not because it has a whole slew of scientific studies supporting it, but because I think it's sort of lovely. In the 1970s, some entomologists, also known as bug people, did some research and suggested that the reason moths fly into light sources is because male moths actually mistake certain artificial light sources as female moths. It must be that bulbous shapeliness that turns them on so blindly. It was discovered around this time that the flame of a candle gives off a spectrum of infrared light quite similar to the frequencies of light given off by the pheromones which the female moths produce. And although this is touching in a sort of Romeo thought Juliet was a light bulb kind of way, this theory actually isn't so likely, considering, like I mentioned with the Harvard study, long wavelength light like infrared actually doesn't attract insects nearly as well as short wavelength light does. But, like a young earther, I'm gonna ignore the evidence and choose to believe in this theory. Why? Because it's adorable! Think about it. Whenever you or I turn on our lights, all the bugs that burn themselves to death against them weren't hungry for some flower lunch or depressed and just trying to end it. They were in love. And what's the point of all life, even moth life, if it's not love? Well, that's all the time I've got today, guys. I hope you liked learning a bit of probably useless information here at Knowing Nothing. I want to make sure this podcast is as interactive as possible, so if you guys liked this episode, please don't hesitate to reach me with a topic suggestion for a new episode, or just a comment, or a fact check on the information from this episode. I, for one, would love to hear from you. Again, my name is Mickey Roberts. If you'd like to follow me on social media, you can find my handles in the episode description below. Thanks for listening. Let's know a whole new nothing next time. This podcast is brought to you by Sound Pollination, an audio production company helping creative minds make some noise. If you enjoyed this podcast, you can find more episodes and other programs on our website, www.soundpollination.com. If you feel so compelled by our content that you just want to throw some money at us, don't fear. Please visit our Patreon page and make a donation that you deem appropriate. Your donations are what make this project possible. So thank you for your support.